Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you a book haul. I haven't done a book haul in a few months, and in those few months I have accumulated a pretty nice stack here. So about half of them are from subscription boxes, so I'm going to go over those first, and then I'll go over the other ones that I've gotten mostly at library book sales. So let's get into it. Okay, first up are a couple from the Nocturnal Readers Box subscription box that I do, and actually a couple of them I have already read, so I'm just going to briefly flash those because I've already talked about them in wrap-ups and everything else. So, the first one though is The Grip of It by Jacques Jump, I think is how you say it, or Jack Jump, I'm not sure. Basically, I didn't really like this one, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, so I'm actually going to be hauling this probably. So yeah, there's this one. And then the next one is Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. I read this one last month in October, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And then I also read in October The Wicked by James Newman, and I also gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so the rest of these Nocturnal Readers Box ones are, the first one being Valancourt Book of Horror Stories, Volume 2, and it has a bunch of different authors. It's just like a anthology. And so I'm pretty interested in this one because it has some pretty good authors in here. We're talking about Michael McDowell, Neville Shute, Stephen Gregory, so there's some good ones in here, so I'm pretty excited about this one. And then this one I'm super stoked about, and that is Cold Moon Over Babylon by Michael McDowell. I just read The Elementals by Michael McDowell back in October, and I loved that book. It's probably one of my favorite books that I've read this year, so I'm super excited to get to this one. And it's about a town called Babylon in the south that has some strange happenings going on. I've heard that this one is super creepy, and because I loved The Elementals, I'm sure I'm going to love this one. The next book is another short story collection, and it's called Greener Pastures by Michael We Hunt, I think is how you say it. This one looks really cool. The cover is super creepy. There's like these faceless creatures on here. Yeah, this one looks like it's going to be pretty good. I was kind of hoping to maybe try to squeeze this in October, and it just didn't happen. So yeah, hopefully get to this one soon. And then I have one more short story collection, and that is We Should Have Left Well Enough Alone by Ronald Melfi. And I just got this one in the November box, and yeah, this one sounds really creepy, and the cover is really, really cool too, so yeah. And then the next two are from the same author, David Wong, who wrote John Dies at the End, which I have but have not read yet. And these two books are kind of tie-ins to that whole universe. The first one being This Book is Full of Spiders, and this one just looks really cool, like the cover. The spiders, I don't know if you can see that, and it's probably not going to focus, but the spiders are like made out of paper, like, and they look like they're like bursting out of the book, which is really cool. And then the other one is the most recent one having to do with these characters, and that is What the Hell Did I Just Read? Again, the cover is pretty cool. So I'm hoping to read John Dies at the End very, very soon so that I can get to these two, because I don't want to read these two until I read John Dies at the End. So, and then the last Nocturnal Readers Box book is another one that I just got in the November box, and that is The Wilderness Within by John Claude Smith. And this one seems like it's going to have a lot of different elements going on, that there's horror elements, there's fantasy elements, thriller elements, so, and for being such a short little book, it seems like it's going to pack a punch, so I'm really interested in this one, and hopefully I will get to it soon. Speaking of Michael McDowell and the Elementals, that's the next book that I am going to show you guys, because I did recently purchase it and read it in the last couple of months, which is pretty amazing for me, because sometimes I tend to buy books and then they sit on my shelf for like 2 years. But actually my husband got this for me for our wedding anniversary, and I read it and I loved it, and it's a 5-star book, and yeah, loved this. So there's that one. And then the rest of these are mostly all from library book sales, except one, and I'll show that one first. And that one is Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. I have read The Cuckoo's Calling in this trilogy, and I have The Silkworm, which is the second book, but I haven't read it yet. And then I saw this one at a discount bookstore and decided to pick it up because I know I want to read it for sure. So I picked this one up, and I'm really enjoying this series. I really enjoyed The Cuckoo's Calling. I love Cormoran Strike. I think he's a great character, so I'm really looking forward to finishing the other 2 books. And then I've been hearing so much buzz lately about Agatha Christie, whom I have never read, which is like, wow, how have I not read Agatha Christie? But I haven't, so I picked up And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, because I've heard a lot about this one, and also Murder on the Orient Express because of the movie that just came out. So I've heard this one's pretty cool. It's about these people that are all invited to, I think, a house, weekend guests to a private island, and one by one they start getting killed off. It just sounds really interesting. It actually kind of reminds me of the movie Clue. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that movie. It's more of like a comedy based on the board game, but it's kind of a similar situation. All these people are brought together and they're not really sure why they're there or how they're all connected, and then that things kind of start to get revealed and people start getting killed off, but it's done in kind of a humorous way. So I'm interested to read this one. Obviously I don't think this one's going to be funny, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one a lot. And then the next one I have is Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosnay, I think is how you say it. And I picked this one up because my friend Diane in my book club, my local book club, has talked about this book. Like, she said this book, like, destroyed her when she read it, that it was incredibly sad and left her crying, and she's always like, you have to read it, you have to read it. So when I came across it at a library book sale, I picked it up. But it's about a young girl named Sarah, and I think it takes place in France during World War II, and she's Jewish, and the Jewish families are being rounded up during the war, and her little brother, she hides him in a bedroom cupboard to kind of try to protect him from where they're going and what's going to happen, and she promises him that she'll come back. And years later, it fast forward to 60 years later, so I'm assuming that something bad happened to the brother, and you're gonna hear that story, and it just sounds, yeah, like kind of like a tearjerker. And books don't typically bring me to tears, but I don't know, this one just might. We'll see. The next book I picked up at a library book sale is The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon, and this is one that I first heard about on Jen Campbell's channel. She talked about this one, and it just sounds really interesting, and the cover is like simple but beautiful, and it's about a woman who is found dead in a field behind her house. It says just months after the tragic death of her daughter, and it takes place in the early 1900s, and then it kind of goes back and forth to that time period and then into the present day. So I like stories that do that go back and forth in time. So this one sounds like it's going to have like a mystery element and all that, and a historical fiction, obviously, kind of element. So yeah, looking forward to this one. I like to read these kinds of books in the wintertime. I tend to gravitate towards historical fiction for some reason when it's cold outside. So hopefully, yeah, I'll hopefully be able to read this one in the winter. So yeah. My next book that I want to share is Bright Lights Big City by Jay McInerney. And this is one that way back in high school, I knew a girl that liked this book or loved this book, and so when I saw it, I thought I'd pick it up. And it's just about a guy that's living in Manhattan and just trying to make it in Manhattan. And I recently traveled to New York with a friend of mine back in the spring. We had a really good time, and I do have somewhat of a love for the city. I don't think I would want to live there, but it was very nice to visit. And so I think I'm going to read this, and then I might pass it on to my friend Becca, because I think she would really love this book as well. So yeah, this one here. And then the next one I got is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. And this is one of those books that I've heard about over and over again, and I don't know, it was just never really on my radar until recently. But it's a story centering around the Vietnam War, which is not one that you often get a lot of stories from. It seems like a lot of historical fiction and stuff takes place in World War II. And I'm sure that this is going to be captivating, but also sad and everything, because let's face it, the Vietnam War was horrible. I mean, all war is horrible, but that one in particular seemed to be kind of a senseless war, let's be honest. So yeah, I've heard that this is just like beautifully written, is a really good story, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay guys, I have 2 more books to talk about. The first one being Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock by Matthew Quick, and I picked this one up at a book sale because I read The Silver Linings Playbook a few years back, and I enjoyed it. I really liked the quirky narrator and how that whole thing kind of played out. I like narrators that are a little bit different, and that narrator definitely was, and the story was good, and I liked the writing, so when I saw this one, I decided to pick it up. This one sounds like it's going to be quite dark, though. It's about a guy who is deciding that he is going to kill his former best friend and then kill himself, which does not sound like a very pleasant story, but because it's Matthew Quick, I imagine it's going to be very quirky and have a little bit of humor, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. This is one that I have seen around BookTube a lot too, so if any of you out there have read this and want to talk about it, let me know in the comments. And then the last book is a chunker, and one that I totally picked up because of BookTube. I would have never picked it up otherwise, but I've heard quite a few booktubers talk about this one, particularly Katie over at Life Between Words, and there was somebody else. And she was just talking about it in one of her recent videos, and I cannot remember who it was now. Sorry. But that book is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, and this is one that is a historical fiction, takes place in the 1100s, I want to say, and it centers around the building of this cathedral. And I've seen a couple of people now gush about this book, even though it is quite long, that it is well worth the read, and that it is actually kind of a quick read despite being so chunky. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I've heard that it has some really rich characters, and just the stories of those characters, that it's just epic and awesome, and so I'm really looking forward to it. Alright guys, so that is my most recent book haul. I have quite a nice pile here, and so yeah, I have a lot of reading to do. My TBR shelf is this one kind of right here, and it is full to the brim. And yeah, I'm gonna probably have to unhaul some books to make room because yeah, I don't have any more room on my shelves. So yeah, that's all I have for today though, guys. I hope that you're having a wonderful week, and as always, if you have read any of these books and you want to tell me maybe which ones I should gravitate towards first, please let me know, because there are a lot here and I would love to know which ones are supreme and awesome and I should read first. So please let me know in the comments. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.